Welcome everyone, Christine here with a quick essential guide for the Age of Reckoning Grudge system and patch 5.0 Thrones of Decay. There's been a lot of discussion regarding this system. A lot of people think that, it's going to force the dwarves to play in a hyper-aggressive fashion. Not really. If you're at war with a faction, it's a long war, you might have their armies show up and attack you constantly, and they'll do so with a lot of grudges. Like, for instance, I was playing an Ungrim campaign, and I kept getting Tretch Craventail to attack me, and every single one of his armies had like 2k, 1k, 2k grudges per army. And I was not trying to conquer him until much, much later on. Because the reason he had so many grudges is he had taken Karak-Azul, and then he turned around, he declared war on me, quite literally. He declared war on me. I didn't declare war on him. So I had the war declare on me, I took his initial province, and then he just counterattacked with everything he had. Sweet moly, was that a lot of grudges. Now, every dwarf campaign that you have will start with a certain number of grudges, based on division. So, it's a portion of grudges that you can see from the beginning of your campaign. Every Age of Reckoning after that is going to give you a number of grudges you need to get, based on the grudges you can see, based on the enemies you can see. So over here, I am required to get 2,600 grudges. Now I can get close to 1,000 over here by taking these initial settlements and certainly Garund. I have a quest that requires Forik to get 2 settlements. That's going to get 200 grudges. So that's easily 1,600 grudges I can do. What about the other 1,000 grudges? And just keep in mind, Forik's campaign is kind of the worst campaign, or pretty much the worst campaign in terms of filling up your initial Age of Reckoning. And it might just be the worst in terms of Age of Reckoning for like the first 2 of them, because you have a Confederation quest for Karak-Azul. You'll probably want to do so, though there's 2 downsides. 1, you'll gain vision that they have. 2, actually there's 3 major downsides with Confederating Karak-Azul. 1, you'll get vision with them, so all the grudges that they see, like Caracade Peaks, Clan Verms, even if you can't see the value, and maybe you should, with Skaven settlements, they have grudges, like 100, 200. There's a bunch of Skaven you actually start over here, like have 80 or so in their initial settlements. And while you're not at war with them, yeah, certainly those grudges are calculated in the initial calculation. Though Krokar is going to be able to wipe those guys out, so they won't be calculated in second Age of Reckoning. You might be tempted to go after the Skaven. Maybe not. But when you Confederate Karak-Azul, all that they see will be added to the Age of Reckoning. You'll have to deal with Queek with the secondary army, because he's certainly going to declare war on you once you Confederate Karak-Azul. Unless you rush Forik there. But if you rush Forik there, you're going to fail your Age of Reckoning, because there's such a huge distance to get there that you're going to fail your initial one. Not your second one, your first one. And your second one is going to be like, Emmeric's going to get a lot of grudges, because Tretch is going to get a lot of grudges. So it's a complicated affair. In point of fact, dealing with all of this, I rack my brain around it. Like, what do I do? Khalida and the Vampire Council Lamia don't have a lot of grudges. Scarbrand does, but the distances are really big, so it would take me a lot of turns to get here. And good luck chasing down Scarbrand's army. Is all I'm going to say. Like, by the time you get to his capital, he might be around here, or maybe here, depending on how it is. So going after Lamia doesn't work, going after Queek takes too long, going after Scarbrand takes too long, going after a Skaven over here gives too few and takes too long. So what do you do? How do you deal with it? And then it's like, the simplest explanation is probably the best one. Beat up Manfred. I love it. I don't know if this was intended. Probably was, considering he starts with like 400 grudges, 200 on his initial settlement, 200 on his own army. So we're just going to declare war on Manfred on freaking turn 1. Who doesn't love beating the shit out of Manfred? And this is genuinely the worst situation, like the worst starting position, because his territory is not great, though he does have some good landmarks, but the construction cost is going to hurt you quite a bit. Still, let's go beat up Manfred. It's kind of hilarious. So, the grudge system certainly changes the way campaigns work. It forces you to do things if you care about the meter. I'd recommend, by the way, always drinking to victory for the sake of Gorok, which increases its duration whenever you just occupy a settlement, just normally occupy a settlement. So, let me just show it over here. So, it's 4 turns. So, I'm just going to take these 2 settlements. I'm getting rid of the mine because I want to get an engineer as quickly as possible. Movement range is going to be important. And yeah, it's going to be pretty simple. Like, just take these 2 settlements, defeat that army, for whatever reason, his grudge value dropped. It's going to go back up. I wouldn't be too worried about that. Over there. So, get Way of the Guilds. Maybe because I declared war on that faction, it dropped the grudges. So, if you have good relations with the faction, the grudges are going to drop. If you have poor relations, and you certainly do with Manfred, of all people, grudges are going to go up. And yes, let's declare war on Cetra, because that will give us grudges with him as well. There's also an event that can come up with various factions where you can declare war on them for a lot of grudges being added to the faction, or you put them in the book and you get less grudges. All the same. Over here, I'm not going to recruit anything because I don't need to. I'm going to get Quarrelers and Quarrelers with great weapons here as quickly as possible, and an Engineer. So, or I could just, recruit some Miners with blasting charges. Say hello to the Dwarven Explosive man and Fred, that's all I'm going to say. So yeah, just going to take down this Salmon, recruit a bunch of Quarrelers, go beat up Manfred, maybe go beat up Cetra as well. Ignore this army, though, ignore the Salmon, though they're going to recruit an army to attack me here, so I'm going to need to get the second army to deal with all of that. And we'll see where the situation is in 10 turns from now, but like, pretty simple, right? Already 17%, I'll be 27% once I take this element. Not going to be quite 1,000, right? So I'm going to be like 600-700. Would be 1,000 with this element, but between Manfred, and I can certainly recruit another army over here to take Karagorund over here by that particular time. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to end Confederate Carcassol, which, the way you do it, after turn 1, an event comes up, that allows you to confederate. But remember, the amount of grudges you require for an Age of Reckoning is dependent on the number, on the vision you have. So you may want to deliberately delay that particular event with Carcassol so that you don't confederate them until the first Age of Reckoning is complete. That's one of the goals, by the way. Like, that's one of the ways to make it work, as is. There's likely going to be some changes in the patch. But I mean, 6 settlements in 10 turns with just one army, it's doable. Don't get me wrong, it's very doable, but you might just want to delay it by at least one turn, right? Until turn 10. Like, certainly the distances that you have to cover here may require, like, you can get it, but you have to cheese to get it, to get the Confederation Carcassol, just pointing that out. So, changing the way the campaign is. You can get the Confederation faster, but it's going to screw you over on your second Age of Reckoning if you do so. You can delay it, and it won't. But then it will screw you over on your first. So remember that. And the more you delay, the worse the Carcassol is going to be, because they've got a lot of enemies. Or maybe it will be best if you do delay it, because, see, here's the thing. When you confederate a faction, the amount of grudges you required with the Ledgering Lord, something they hopefully fix, is increased by quite a lot. Like, it would go from 15,000 to 30,000 if I confederate Carcassol. But if I delay a confederation, it might take Black Crag. They will certainly get their settlements to a higher tier. So just keep that in mind. The AI will grow their settlements faster than you, unless you have exceptional growth, or unless you really, really push for that. Okay, so the first Stage of Reckoning was completed. It was a pretty interesting situation, having to fight Manfred. Also got involved in a war with the Wood Elves because, well, settlements. But now, the situation is sorted out over here. So let's sell the Orion's camp over here to the Greenskins for money. Built a barracks there, just wanted the money. And now, we can go take it back and give it... take it back, get the grudges completed. We start a new Age of Reckoning, and yeah, 3,900, not too bad. I tried my best to confederate Carcassol, didn't quite complete that particular confederation. So that's what you kind of need to know here. It's like, your initial confederation with Carcassol is certainly going to be pretty tricky. I also had the Greenskins here coming to attack me. I did defeat one of their armies. They are sending another one. Still at war with Cetra right here. Could have avoided that if I really wanted to. Well, the same. So Carcassol, didn't confederate them. I mean, pretty damn tricky. I mean, I'm just one settlement away from that. I do have a quest battle right here. So if I go sort that out, yeah, it's gonna lose those long beards, whatever. If I do sort out, which is certainly doable, is 28%. My point over here, every campaign has some way, and it's designed in some way for you to be able to deal with your initial grudges. Once you do deal with those initial grudges, that's when things get a bit interesting, and it's where the variety comes in. But right now, like 28% on the second age, yeah, that's not really bad at all. And because of all the grudges I've gotten with Cetra due to that declaration of war, hell, I even have grudges against Volkmar for whatever damn reason. But because of everything I sorted out, and this was not some crazy thing. Like, the only thing that you might consider crazy is fighting the Wood Elves there, but it's like, if you doubt Fork's capability of dealing with some freaking trees, well, I would dare say you may want to play this campaign a bit more, because, yeah, absolutely. Let's just get more Rimmed Hellfires, because, yeah, that's pretty sweet. So that's the easy part right there. Like, you just want to avoid getting as much vision as possible so that your second age of grudges is not the craziest in the world that you possibly could get. Now, I could have even gone even a bit crazier in the sense I could have let the greenskins here, I could have almost not bankrupted myself, let the greenskins over here take some of this territory, and they would have gained tons of grudges, which would have made getting that second age harder, but it would also have made it getting it back much easier. And I could have avoided declaring war on Cetra, and instead just relied on, yeah, let's beat up Manfred, deal with Orion's camp, deal with a quest which does require me to get some grudges. Though I do have, though dealing with Manfred, you know, dealing with Cetra is not necessary, but you do have a legendary grudge which is like, yeah, go beat up. Go beat up Manfred, because that's going to give you 2,500 grudges. Hell, go beat up Teclis, go beat up Krokkar. It's all part of the plan, if you will. You don't have to go deal with Tic-Tac-Toe, though. So, Cetra's main army has been defeated. He doesn't have a second one, so it's going to take him some time. I can get the peace agreement. It's perhaps beneficial here. So I'm just going to skip ahead 10 turns in the future, where I certainly will have Carcassol, and see how the situation is right there. With respect to grudges, I've accomplished 3,000, almost 4,000 grudges. But let's confederate Carcassol, though keep in mind, there's strong reasons why you don't want to do it, not because of the Age of Reckoning, but because you want to get Grumbrindle as quickly as possible. Okay, so third Age of Reckoning, confederate the Carcassol, been fighting well, pretty nasty war against the Rodent, as you can see over here, against Queek, because, well, Queek is just Queek, what can I say? But now I need 27,000. But a lot of the settlements Queek has taken, they have like 200, 300, so it's not really going to be too much of an issue. A lot of his armies have like 1,000. The Carrick 8 Peaks has like 2,000, really 3,000. Skarsnik has like 3,000, 4,000. So while it absolutely in quite a lot of ways will be tricky to get this done, it is certainly not that difficult. The second one, if I had gotten 27,000 on the second one, which I completed successfully, absolutely, that would have been brutal. But not the third one. That's perfectly fine, perfectly doable, and that's kind of thing. Like, all I did there was just not confederate Carcassol. Mind you, I kind of tried. That's the thing. Like, I did try, because I probably would have completed that Age of Reckoning successfully if I had confederated Carcassol and gotten their armies, assuming I would have survived Queek, which probably would have, but tricky to say whether or not I could have. And that's the thing. Like, by the time you get your third Age of Reckoning, you're in a situation in the campaign where, yeah, you do have a lot of grudges available, especially if you have various visions or defensive alliances or all that kind of stuff. Like over here, for instance, I can see all of Skarsenik's grudges, so they are affecting my vision. But that's because I declared war on him. I can see Caracate Peaks, and while I can't see the number of grudges over here in the Black Iron Mine or Black Crag, I do certainly have vision over these elements, so the grudges there are adding there. What would I do? Well, Caracas Gall, probably 1k grudges, like just these, certainly more like 2k grudges, just these Salamans here. Like, they literally took Spite Peak recently, so that's the reason it only has 200, but all the rest would be like, 300, 400. So probably like 2k just to get these Salamans, then another 2k, so that's 4k easily over there for these armies to deal with in like 3-4 turns, something like that. There's of course more to deal with. Like, I'm going to be using this to go after the Golden Pass, claim all of that. But yeah, like 4k easily just to deal with Quake. Another 2k, 3k really, another 3k possibly. Let's say 2k, right? So another 2k, so that's 6k. I already got 1500 over here. And I might be very conservative because the value of these grudges is going to increase, and this army is not just going to sit on its ass. They might, take Caracazul, in which case, taking it back would add grudges. But yeah, like in 4 turns, I can get 6k. I can be like in 4 or 5 turns halfway there, no problem. The rest of it, maybe a bit of RNG, maybe a bit of like what's going on over here. I did declare war on Scrag. It's a gigantic mess of a situation. Now, one of the things that would certainly make my life easier is if I could confederate one of these legendary lords, but because the minor factions screw you over in confederations, that's just not gonna happen. If I hadn't confederated Caracazul, I certainly would not have this level of grudges, right? And if I was looking to confederate a legendary lord by this point, because I would be pretty close, like 3-4k grudges, like I would be able to do this in a couple of turns. If I confederate a legendary lord, then I would gain all their armies, especially if it's a good legendary lord. Grumbrindle is dead in this situation, but actually all the dwarves are doing bad here. So maybe confederating a lord would not help me at all in terms of dealing with the grudges. Yeah. Grumbrindle got wiped out, as is his situation. So it's a rough situation, and there's certainly things that I would want to do, like wiping out Khalida, because, items. Should probably take on Lamia. Like, I did defeat one of her armies, and then I got the peace agreement. Maybe really should have taken Lamia to deal with the quest. Well, the same. Lots and lots of stuff to worry about in a Dwarven campaign, but the grudges, honestly, I think people have been exaggerating it to a certain extent. It does require planning around it, like not getting as much vision before your second Age of Reckoning. You can do quests. Like, quests, I found, don't really create problems. I've always done the quest as quickly as possible, quest battles as quickly as possible. Quests are not going to screw you over. Defensive alliances within the first 10 turns. But after 10 turns, it's fine, because like within 30 turns to reach, by turn 31 to reach this level, and this is pretty reasonable. It might be higher, might be lower, but it depends, and this is all subject to change. That's all I have to say. Questin signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more. And just remember, you don't have to fill this bar. It does give you benefits, like over here, for instance. I can just suicide these armies against Krokar. I don't need to wipe him out. I just need to, defeat, like, each of these can defeat one of his armies. Maybe not his main army, though. Trollhammers. Pretty nasty affair. And all it took was beating up Manfred to do it. Each campaign has its own thing, right? For most of them, it's pretty straightforward. Like for Malachi, go beat up Frot. For Grumbrindle, go beat up Malekith. For Grim, go beat up Skarsnik. For Egg, go beat up Manfred, which is maybe not the most obvious solution.